if you want to do this, folks, quite honestly, you can start to do it in a demo account if you want, or start to do it with a real account, but just trade very low in size. Trade it at £1 a point until you get the hang of it. And just write it off as a training exercise. Now, something very special happens when you do this. Somewhere between 10 and 15 trades, all the internal resistance goes away. I've seen this so many times with myself and with dozens of people that I've done this with. You're going to find that you have resistance and then it just goes away. And I don't understand why. There's this whole concept of neuroplasticity that everybody can talk about, but nobody really understands. Electrons firing together in your head, neurons buzzing and making connections. So you're going to find that somewhere between 10 and 15 trades, the resistance goes away. As I say, I build discipline very easily. So I found myself that after 8 to 13 trades, all the resistance went away. So that's your task out of this. Quite honestly, all of the technical analysis is largely irrelevant compared to this. Okay. And the more you resist that, the more difficult you're going to find this business is going to be for you.
Can I have a question?
Of course.
The purpose of this is that you make 10 to 15 trades.
30 trades.
13 trades.
30, 30.
30. And then what's supposed to happen?
You're going to find your resistance to following a simple set of rules melts away. Just melts away. Now, maybe you haven't got resistance to following a simple set of rules. That would make you very special. That would make you very special indeed. Most people have.
Special in the different ways. I am. I'm special in the different ways. It's not this.
Okay. You pick whatever methodology you want. Makes no difference to the exercise. Anyway, it's worked for everybody that I've put them through it, that have been honest enough to do it. It's worked for them. Now let's tackle fear, folks. The condition of fear, the first trading fear, is divorce from any true and immediate danger. Would you agree? And it is my opinion that you can always cope with the present moment, but it's very difficult to cope with the future. Now, I was taught this in the Corps, in the Royal Marines, that when some other sod's firing at you, or you're going into a conflict situation, that the key to managing that is to keep your mind incredibly present, not focused on the past, not focused on the future, but totally focused on what you're doing now. And I assure you that when some other sword is shooting at you, that you get there quite quickly. As that thing wings over your head. Sorry, guys, you're making a noise there. Okay. And it is my humble opinion that it's impossible to feel fear in the present moment. And that's why on Friday I asked you to complete that exercise at dinner, where you do your best to go through dinner focused on what was happening then. Did anybody try that? How did you find that, anyone? Pardon, sir?
It didn't work.
It didn't work. It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult.
I was fine. She wasn't.
Okay.
She wanted to know everything.
All right. Well, I think that if she directed the conversation that way and you addressed that, then you were present. Okay, you were okay. I think one of the challenges that I think about myself a lot, and I'm lucky enough to live in a lovely part of London. It's a picture-perfect square called Pembridge Square, And Kensington Gardens is just on my doorstep. And I do my best to try and walk in Kensington Gardens and to be totally there. And you'll find that your mind comes to distractions very frequently indeed. It takes quite a bit of practice to stay in the moment, to be totally there. You can get better at it. I'm going to suggest 3 ways that you can get better at it. And I know you all want to get into charts and whatever, but I think you've had a lot of charts by now. I'm going to go into charts in a moment to keep you happy. It is my opinion and observation over many years that all winning traders are very present people. They're focused on what's happening now in relation to their trading rules. And I've found that building presence into your trading is essential to get that 30 trade exercise sorted out. And Tom talked about this on Friday, I think, where he made you work through the exercise of being on a motorbike and turning the throttle. At 50 miles an hour, you're watching everything that's going on. At 70 miles an hour, well, you're reasonably focused. And when the little pointer, or whatever they have these days, goes up through 100 miles an hour, you're not thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. You're totally and utterly there. 100.
It's not so much.
No, well, take it to 150 then. Okay. We're all different. Okay. But there is some point where you'll be focused totally there. Okay. And that's where you want to do your trading. Have you all been to that point? Have you all turned the throttle?
Yes.
And that's where you want to be. And when you're there, time doesn't exist. So if you're at your desk trading, and you're trading on the time frame that Dr. Brooks spoke about, and you're watching the clock at the same time while you're not present, and you're going to find it in your best trading sessions from the open right through, opens 2:30, right through to 4 o'clock, 4:15. Time just disappears. Does that happen to anybody? Or time just completely disappears? Well, that's a really good sign that you're there. Time does not exist in the present moment. Just flashes past. I remember once upon a time, I flew from Heathrow to New York City, and beside me was the fashion editor of Vogue magazine. She was lovely. It was my shortest ever trip to New York. I think, in hindsight, it was probably her longest. So, time just sort of contracted. I was totally and utterly there. My word. In the trading rooms in the city, who trades in the city here? If you trade in the city, a young lady is known, excuse this chauvinistic moment, ladies, as a belter. Okay, she was a belter of note. There are degrees of belters. A bit of a belter is even more of a belter than a belter. Okay, a bit of a belter, okay. Chauvin, please excuse me that one. Similarly, I asked some bloke at the gym I go to ages ago. He's just come back from a trip to the hard bit of Everest. And I said to him, why do you climb mountains? And he gave me the old stick just because it's there. But I assure you that the reason that people really climb mountains is that when they're up there on the side of that darn mountain, they're not thinking about whether they're going to have the chicken or fish that night. They're totally and utterly there. Special force soldiers that have seen battle very rarely settle in, because in the heat of the battle, they can be in the present moment for many hours and days at a time, and they struggle to go back to normal, and they become quite difficult to manage and normally end up blowing their brains out. So, Intense presence is required when a certain situation triggers a reaction with a strong emotional charge. And we've all got people, I think you would agree, that cause you to get really upset. And believe it or not, those political, mean-minded SOBs are doing you a favor. Now, the first method of building presence, and you can get really good at this, is by becoming totally present when your self-esteem is not being threatened. And I assure you that little bar bouncing up and down can threaten your self-esteem or going against you. So when you're walking in the park, when you're at dinner, do your best to be completely there. And very quickly, your threshold of presence will grow. Nature's good. Holidays are good. When you've got that, and you're watching Niagara Falls, you're watching Victoria Falls, you're watching a polar bear, Steve's polar bear, meander around somewhere or other in the Antarctic. That can keep you totally grounded in the moment. You can go through these at your leisure, folks. Focus on what's happening now and tell me what problems you've got. There's a really good book that I think is worth a read. It's a long read. It's called A Course in Miracles. And in that it says, I'm only affected by my thoughts. Now, Steve spoke about this on Friday. And this is what the more spiritual people such as Eckhart Tolle have been talking for a long time. It's called cultivating the silent watcher, to become a silent watcher of your thoughts. Don't judge those thoughts, and you'll find that the same thoughts, especially trading-related thoughts, will come over and over and over again. So don't judge them, but do your best to laugh at them and dismiss them. So get yourself to a point where you're watching your own thoughts, and you'll find that the thoughts will come and they will act like a room full of naughty children. And the same thoughts rattle on in there for many years. Don't believe everything you think. And the final method of building presence is to try and get the reptile brain and the more conscious brain in sync. And invariably, there's a half a second lapse between the two. And in fact, I was speaking to a young man on Friday who'd just done a course in that from the same chap in Cape Town that I quoted on Friday. Something will happen. For example, on your desk, there's a pen. Have you ever knocked a pen off your desk and you've caught it and you can't believe how quick you are? Has that ever happened to you? And that's because the reptile brain has reacted to this pen falling half a second before your conscious mind got that thought through to you. That's what's happened. Similarly, when somebody chucks a ball at you fast, you duck. Chucks a ball at you slowly, you catch it. Ball coming slowly gives the conscious mind and the reptile mind time to actually work together. So I think your mother always told you that before you're going to hit somebody, take 3 deep breaths. Did your mother tell you that, sir? You're just about to deck somebody. Take 3 deep breaths. Well, I think that 11 deep breaths is what the old Buddha spoke about. To try and put yourself, and the real reasons to keep the reptile mind and the more conscious minds in sync. There's a half a second lapse between the two in a danger situation. And that half a second is responsible for many of the emotional errors that you make. Where you resolve that you're going to let this run. And all of a sudden you take your 2 ticks profit. And then you swear to yourself that you're never going to do that again. And the next day you do the same damn thing over again. That's that half-second difference between this fella, whose job is to keep you alive when a tiger is about to nail you, and this one that processes information much more consciously. Big part of emotional overreactions, quick reactions, is caused by that half second. And the more present you are, the easier it's going to become to overcome those actions that occur in a part of your brain that you know bugger all about. That was designed to keep you alive when the old saber-toothed tiger was hunting you down. End of day traders. End of day traders. So if you're sitting at your computer in the evening and you've got some decisions to make, then get yourself into the zone by taking 11 deep breaths. I think of all of the methods of building presence, cultivating the silent watcher is the most important. Now, I quoted a book on Friday. It was called Practicing the Power of Now. Kathy here spent 6 weeks, I believe, studying the book. I did an awful lot of mentoring at institutions, and they used to look at me funny when I actually handed out a copy of Practicing the Power of Now at an institutional trading seminar. And all traders live in the present moment. All big winners live in the present moment. Golfers live in the present. All good golfers live in the present moment. All good tennis players live in the present moment. In fact, there's a book called The Inner Game of Tennis by Tim Galloway? And if you Tipex out golf and write in trading, it really works. There is a golf coach. What's the name of the golf coach? He's written a book on peak performance in golf, and he was Tiger's coach. He was Ernie Els' coach. Pardon? No, not that guy. Pardon? Can't remember his name. I've got his book sitting in Notting Hill, in fact. If you Tipex out, for those of you that are under 50, Tipex is a little white stuff you put on the paper. If you Tipex out golf and you write in trading, his books are really, really great. Manchester United have got 2 coaches, and one a new age fella and one university-trained chappie, and their job is to keep people in the present moment, especially when they're kicking penalties. You imagine you're taking England against South Africa, and it's injury time, and you're sitting there trying to take a 3-pointer. Presence required to do that. Wayne Rooney said so beautifully, they're never a formality, okay? When, I don't know, who's at the top of the Formula One at the moment? Okay, well, they are all coached to be in the moment when they're in their little red car, whatever color the car is. To stay there. All winners in every endeavor, folks, live in the moment. Now, I think it was Belinda asked, or somebody asked Tom yesterday what his goals were. I don't know who that was, but it is my view, folks, that we all should have some goals, yeah? And then forget about them. Maybe break them down into steps and to do our best to be fully in the moment and put everything into that one particular step. Review your goals once a week, but if you get to a point where you're continually chasing that goal, you lose this moment. So by all means have goals, by all means. And I think we all should have. But don't allow this moment to become a stepping stone to a future moment. So I don't know what your goals are, but certainly break them down. Stick and to have a daily list of what you're going to do. Prioritize that daily list, and then do your best that when you're completing your list to be completely and utterly there. When you're writing that report, when you're completing this trade. So I'm not knocking goal setting at all, but I'm saying that many people chase goals and they never get there. The reason they never get there is that they're actually always chasing and not putting a great... the only place where there is creativity is in the present moment. So don't allow this moment to become a stepping stone to a future moment. But I'll leave that with you. And let Eckhart Tolle talk you through all of that. In trading as in life, don't be concerned with the fruit of your actions. Give attention to the action itself. The fruit will come of its own accord. And I've got ahead of myself. Don't allow this moment to become a stepping stone to a future moment. And our job is to execute perfect trades over and over and over again. I think I've hammered that to death now. And you can read these bits and pieces for yourself. Surrender to the market itself. To surrender is to accept the present moment without reservation or inner conflict. You see this at airports. British Airways says, flight's delayed for 2 hours. An old fella goes completely mad, you know. It's not going to help. He's going to get a heart attack. British Airways don't care. To be able to surrender to the markets is quite something. Non-surrender hardens the shell of the ego. The market is perceived as threatening. The market is now your enemy, and it's quite common to hear traders swear at the screen. When you have an expectation, I was speaking to Belinda about this earlier. When you start, who's brand new here? Is any people are brand new or consider themselves brand new? A few of us, not many of us, a few of us. Well, you've got a huge advantage, sir, because as you're new, you probably don't know anything. When you don't know anything, you've got no expectation to be able to work out whether the market's going to go up or down. And you'll find that you make a heap of money. 6 months into the journey, you're now a guru. You've been on courses, you've read books, and slowly but surely that expectation comes that you know what's going to happen next. And as soon as you've got an expectation in anything and that expectation doesn't work out, you actually get a dose of pain from the universe. And it sits there like about 3 pints of Guinness at lunchtime. Okay. Causes an awful lot of pain. That pain grows and grows and grows and makes trading quite difficult indeed. So one of the ground rules of this is to try and get yourself to a point where you've got no judgment, no resistance, no negativity. And as Mark Douglas says in his book, get yourself to a point where you have 2 levels of belief. At the level of one trade, anything can happen. Anything. It only takes one idiot somewhere in the world to totally stuff your position. Remember vividly, Tom and I were trading online a lifetime ago. Again, when Skype was new, and we were talking online, and I went into an oil position, and within a few minutes, well, half an hour, I was up £5,000 in that position. It was good money. This is nearly 20 years ago. I was feeling so flush. I went out to the kitchen and I brewed up a big pot of tea, Earl Grey. And I threw all those Presbyterian principles away. I put in an extra tea bag. All right? I was feeling really flush. I came back. My £5,000 was gone and my £1,500 stop loss was gone. I hadn't brought the stop loss up. Some idiot had blown up a pipeline in Nigeria. Until you can predict an idiot who's about to blow up a pipeline, you don't know what's going to happen next, folks. You really don't. So to have an expectation that you know what's going to happen next in this environment where the lead is in the sky, as the Dubliners once said in a popular drinking song, is just crazy. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. If you're right 80% of the time, you're wrong 20% of the time. On the next trade, you don't know whether it's one of the 80 or one of the 20. That's the reality of the situation. So if you think you know what's going to happen next and it doesn't happen, the Guinness is on the way. And that pain grows and grows and grows, and it's got some terrible consequences, that pain. So, and this is the one thing that helped my trading when I first read Trading, The Disciplined Trader, was that traders need 2 levels of belief, folks. At the level of 1 trade, you have to firmly believe that anything can happen. But at the level of 30 trades, you have to firmly believe with every core of your being that your edge will work out. And that's difficult. All of us understand thinking and probabilities at an intellectual level. We were all taught stats at school. But to understand probabilities at a stomach level is quite something. And certainly that month gambling in Vegas helped me immensely at that. And I suggest, and I used to do with all my coaching clients, that we learn how to play backgammon. Because if you learn to play backgammon with the dice, okay, you learn to think in probabilities very quickly. I know we've got 1 backgammon player here. Yep, there he is. Maybe we've got 2. So one of the things that I could recommend heartily to get yourself to a point where you can think in probabilities is go to your local store or buy it online, a simple, cheap backgammon set. Learn how to play backgammon. Do not get tuition from a Greek fella, because he will rob you blind. Those Greeks are taught how to play backgammon. Any Greek folk here? At their mother's knee. And if he brings out that doubling cube, you run for cover, okay? Because that's how the bet rises geometrically. So, but learning how to play backgammon is a very simple way to get your mind into thinking in probabilities, thinking in a batch of trades as opposed to 1 trade. And backgammon is good. If you ever get a casino that plays craps, craps is a great game as well to get you to a point where you can think in probabilities. And I love the craps game. It's my favorite game at the casinos. There's only a few tables in London. Again, the table trends, and if you bet that it's going to keep going, you can take money off the table. You've got to be bigger when you're right than you are when you're wrong. And I don't think it's possible to beat markets without doing that. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So, and here's my metaphor for this, folks. And this is something I would like you to think about. I think that in trading, we're walking along in a dark night, surrounded by a thick fog. We have no idea what's going to happen next. None. Not in this environment. Not in any environment. You've got a torch. And that torch illuminates a narrow path in front of you. The fog is your life and the ups and downs of the market. The torch beam is your conscious presence. And the focused, clear place ahead is the present moment. That's my metaphor for what I've just been talking about. And if you find your trading unsatisfactory, it's only by surrender where you can take positive action to change. And you certainly won't work out what's going to happen next. Let's go back to the Guinness. Let's say that you have an expectation that this trade's going to work out, and it doesn't work out. The Guinness arrives. It sits in your stomach here. Creates a great deal of pain. That happens again. More pain arrives. You've now got your setup comes again, and your job is to execute that setup without fear or hesitation. But our minds have got two characteristics. They associate one moment with a previous moment, and they want to avoid pain. The setup comes again, sir. And at a level that you know nothing about, your mind sees the last two and it says, this caused me pain. And at a level you know nothing about, you'll subtly hesitate. Has anybody ever hesitated to take a trade here? That's the reason why. And the way to get over that is to stop the pain. And the only way to stop the pain is to believe with every fiber of your body that at the level of one trade, anything can happen. So if you have pain, it's because you haven't fully accepted that fact. And Mark Douglas's exercise of 30 trades will do its best to get rid of that pain for you. So that's the process that I think you should work through. Nobody does it. I do courses for Vector Vest. There's 100 people in the course. I say to them all, every last one of them, I want you now, first of all, to write out a trading plan for me and send it to me, and I'll critique it for you. Out of the 100, you get 5 people who send it back. And out of the 5, you get 3 people that do the 30 trades. It's difficult, and I can see in your faces that these clusters that old fellow is talking about, in fact, don't apply to me. So this is an exercise that has to be done, in my humble opinion. It is a rite of passage. Tom has done it and done it 100 times. Belinda, that's your next step, girl. I'll work with you all the way, okay? More than happy to help. If anything. And old Nassim Taleb, the guy who's written Fooled by Randomness, Nicky Taleb. You met him, Larry? Yeah, he's a nice guy. Nice guy, I know him well. We brought him to Johannesburg, to the TASA, Technical Analysis Society of South Africa, years back. First-class fellow. He says that a Stoic is a Buddhist with attitude. So, and if you like to read like me, there's a book written 2,000 years ago by a Roman emperor, all on Stoicism. Very useful read, Marcus Aurelius. Anybody read it? First-class stuff, isn't it? I read too much, probably. So, Tom, do we need to break, or do you want to go right through?
Yeah, I think maybe a 10-minute break.
Yeah, okay. And then I promise you guys, we'll move into charts where you'll all be much happier. All right. You'll all be. Yes, of course you can. What was that question again?
If you are that good, then why are you still standing here?
Okay. I'm just answering the question because everybody's thinking it, you know. He's selling VectorVest and he does the odd seminar. This is the first seminar I've done since the last seminar that Tom and I did together. But I think that the answer to that is that when I'm up speaking, I'm never more present. I'm actually more present when I'm actually speaking to a group of motivated people like yourselves than I am when I'm trading. And the time just flies. Now, those of you that don't think that I could talk for 3 days don't know me that well. Okay, so I can talk about this and time just disappears and I just fall through that little crack in the floor and time completely disappears. And that's the reason why I still do these. Okay, I never feel more present, more grounded, more there than when I'm talking to an audience of motivated people. That's why I still do them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be bothered.
Great answer.
Okay. So